by Worldwide News in a landmark ruling that reaffirmed the role of the judiciary as the last bastion of hope for justice. The U.S. Supreme Court on May 16, 2025, issued a decisive order blocking the Trump administration's controversial attempt to deport Venezuelan migrants under the centuries-old Alien Enemies Act. This legal development goes far beyond immigration policy. It strikes at the heart of constitutional protections, civil liberties, and the power of the courts to uphold the rights of the most vulnerable, even in the face of immense political pressure. The legal backdrop. Alien Enemies Act revived. The Alien Enemies Act, originally enacted in 1798, was designed for wartime situations, allowing the president to detain or deport nationals of enemy countries. While this law has remained largely dormant in modern times, the Trump administration sought to invoke it as a tool for mass deportations, particularly targeting Venezuelan nationals, some of whom were alleged to be gang members affiliated with the infamous Tren de Aragua. What made the application of this law so contentious was its use outside of any formal declaration of war and without individual trials or hearings. Migrants were given as little as 24 hours notice before removal, often with no access to legal counsel, evidence, or even time to notify family members. Critics argued that this move ignored fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution, especially the right to due process. The case that changed everything central to the court's decision was the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Venezuelan with protected status living in Maryland. Despite a court order explicitly barring his deportation, Garcia was forcefully removed to El Salvador, where he allegedly suffered torture. This violation of judicial authority brought intense scrutiny to the administration's deportation tactics and catalyzed legal challenges across the country. In halting further deportations under the Alien Enemies Act, the Supreme Court cited procedural violations and a blatant disregard for due process. The ruling emphasized that no person, regardless of immigration status, is outside the protection of the law. This stance underscores the judiciary's vital function, to interpret the law impartially and ensure that executive power does not overreach its constitutional limits. The court is the last hope of the common man. This momentous decision highlights a truth that resonates deeply in democratic societies. The judiciary remains the last hope of the common man. In a system where power can be concentrated in the hands of a few, the courts serve as a critical counterbalance. They offer a platform where the powerless can stand toe-to-toe with the powerful, and be heard. For the migrants caught in the deportation dragnet, this was not merely a legal technicality. It was a matter of survival, dignity, and the right to be treated as human beings under the law. The Supreme Court's intervention protected not only these individuals but also the integrity of the legal system itself. In the words of Justice Sonia Sotomayor, writing in concurrence, "A nation's greatness is measured not by how it treats the powerful, but by how it protects the rights of the voiceless." Broader implications. Due process in peril. The court's ruling sends a clear message. No administration, regardless of its popularity or power, is above the Constitution. It also exposes the dangers of reviving archaic laws in modern contexts without robust safeguards. Using 18th-century legislation to justify sweeping 21st-century deportations risks eroding civil liberties under the guise of national security. The decision also places renewed attention on the role of Congress. If immigration enforcement is to evolve, it must be through transparent legislative processes, not through executive fiat backed by outdated laws. A reminder for the world as nations grapple with rising populism, migration crises, and political extremism. This case serves as a powerful reminder of the indispensable role of the judiciary. Courts are not merely institutions of technical arbitration. They are protectors of liberty, defenders of the marginalized, and the final arbiters when all other systems fail. In blocking these deportations, the U.S. Supreme Court did more than interpret a law. It reaffirmed a principle, that justice must not be sacrificed on the altar of expediency. And for every individual whose rights hang in the balance, that principle is not just a legal ideal, it is a lifeline. Reflection prompt. Do you believe that national security concerns should ever override individual rights? What safeguards should be in place to ensure balance? For more legal insights and global justice updates, Follow Worldwire News and subscribe to our daily justice bulletin.